Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
Mostly.
I'm right there with you. It's definitely that time of year, and especially on a day like today, and what a day it is. Um, Everyone's going out, going to be with their loved ones and family, and try to survive all that stuff. And here we are. And what do? We decide to go a little wild and pull a double feature marathon. Very special one at that, um, which is entitled The Gorge Until You Vomit Thanksgiving Special. Um, a little thing that I concocted, came up with. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I think I've already mentioned this, but this was going to be the New Year's special because I wanted to do like New Year's vomit or something like that. But like I said, found something else to fill that void, and I still wanted to do these. And you know, what do people do for Thanksgiving? They eat themselves until they're full. And what better way to do that than to gorge until you vomit with some films from Vomit Films. And definitely two under the radar indie horror films from Richie Vomit. Ian, if you want to go ahead and put the banner up there. But yeah, I do a little backstory. I think I mentioned this at the end of last episode, but Scarefest, I believe last year, 2024, Richie Vomit had a tattoo booth in the tattoo alley at Scarefest, and I was just walking by, didn't minding, looking at all the other tables besides the tattoo booths, but he had the two films for tonight on little just out there, displaying them. And I was like, holy crap, two horror films that I don't know about, and I want them. And so he was doing a tattoo on a guy's leg, and he stopped mid-tattoo on the guy and just came over and like, you're interested in the films? Like, hell yeah, I love low-budget horror stuff. And we just started carrying on a conversation. His wife Heidi was there. I talked to her, and I bought both of them. I got them autographed, and yeah, I was just like, there's like, then I came back home. And I was like, there's hardly any information on these films. There's no reviews hardly. Honestly, I don't think there is a review. The only thing on his IMDb page is Farmlands, and there's no reviews on it. I think Machete Mamas used to be on Amazon. I don't know if it was to rent or for free, but that was, again, I'm assuming back in the heyday of when Amazon Prime was like full of indie stuff that you could watch over and over, or just updated constantly, and the made on demand stuff. But yeah, there's like not much on Machete Mamas, so that's how we came to be like, these need to be out there, and they need a review, and they need a proper review. And what better two guys to talk about them than here on a Thanksgiving special Boneyard, covering both of them. Because honestly, not a lot of people's going to cover the second one. The first one's fun, but we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, the Gorge Until You Vomit. Again, there's a little bit of backstory on Richie Vomit. He is the owner of Monster Inc. He was from Iowa. He moved to Pennsylvania. He's in Pittsburgh now, residing currently, and he has a horror collectible store called Monster Mart, and again, Monster Inc. Tattoo. So he's been doing the tattoo artist for years now, and back in 2006, while living in Iowa, he decided to make two little low-budget DIY horror films. And Ian, I guess we're going to go ahead and get into this with our first film, and that is we're just gonna do them how we watched them. Again, I don't know which came first between the two, but I'm going with Machete Mamas because I don't know. But yeah, Machete Mamas is our first film, and the thing with both these films, and I'm gonna preface this first, is they're under an hour. They're like 50 minutes at that. They're very short and pretty to the point, figuratively speaking. But Machete Mamas, we follow a group of women. They're prostitutes. We have Debbie, Samantha, Roxy, Betty, and Molly. And we'll get in more sort of details on their characters here a little bit later. And so they're living in their, I guess, the madam's house, but they just live in the basement of this lady's house, who puts them out on the street to, get to work, get the money, bring the money in, while she sits there on the couch and watches her shows. Before we're introduced to the characters, we're also notified of a serial killer or a killer going around just murdering women. Because at the very beginning, there's a strangulation of someone. And so we have our characters. They're all friendly. They all work together, and they're just like shooting the breeze and just like, sort of trash talking each other, but that's like friendly banter, back and forth. But Debbie is called out for work, and she gets into the vehicle, and she soon is killed by the killer. She gets asphyxiated, and so Samantha, Roxy, Betty, and Molly are put out on the streets doing their thing, and two of them go off to we're kind of bored. One gets picked up. Betty gets picked up by Martin, and we'll get into Martin. Martin's a character, and so Samantha is the one that's staying back, and she's on the corner there, and I forgot the guy's name, but he's also a pimp, and he wants Samantha to work for him, and Samantha's telling him, no, I don't want to work for you, I'm good, and he doesn't take no for an answer, and he beats her up in the alleyway, which causes, once they get back to the house, this causes all the other girls to sympathize for her, and like, we got to do something. And so they decide, let's take it into ourselves. Let's go out and get ourselves some protective weaponry to fight back against these people that are causing us harm, or a threat. So they go out and they get themselves a bunch of machetes. Each one has their own machete. And so later on, they get attacked again by Samantha does, by two guys. And so they start, she takes out the machete, hits one, the other one comes around, saves, there's a lot of attacking. There's a lot of stabbings with machetes. And so basically the gist of the film is all the girls, besides Debbie, going out and trying to basically get enough money to leave town, because they don't have money. And that's the gist of it. While also dealing, there's also, of course, the killer and everyone else that's sort of being a threat to their well-being and a future, to get away from all the darkness surrounding them, because it's just a hellhole that they live in. And overall, this was fun. This brought back vibes of It's Not Delivery, It's Demonic, where it's just like the low DIY attitude, and just like they were just having fun, stupid conversations, stupid humor. I thought the story, as short as it was really entertaining. I liked all the characters. The acting, it just felt like, honestly, it felt like almost like documentary style, where it's just like to set the camera up and just like it was just natural conversation happening between everyone. And like I liked all the characters for the most part, especially Betty. The main. She had an attitude on her and a mouth. Um, and once the bloodshed started to happen, it was actually pretty solid as well. They actually used some like real. I'm assuming it was real intestines and blood and hearts and all that stuff. So they probably hit up the local butcher's shop and got a bunch of stuff. Because they were just like honestly they had no fear. They're just playing in like organs and blood splattering all over them. And it was just like, yeah, let's have fun in the scene. And like the overall the feel of the film is just like one of those fun watches where it's just like, yeah, it's low budget, the audio's a little off, and just like they're using natural lighting, and also it's just, you can see like again it's very very cheap and very low budget. They're using like car headlights to make lighting for scenes, because like at points you can hear like conversation going around, and you can still hear the car engine going from where they're using the headlights to light the scene. But yeah, I didn't mind. I had fun with this one. Like I said, it's like very like it's not delivery, it's demonic vibes to it, where it's just like, let's go out, have a fun movie, make a fun movie, and just like have fun with it. And like the humor in this one is very it's not as vulgar as I kind of expected it to be for both both films in general. But like this one's like I just like the antics and some of the humor in this one, especially Martin. But Ian, we'll get into all the spoilers here later. But what's your thoughts on Machete Mamas?
It was definitely, out of the two films that we watched, this was definitely the stronger of the of them. It was, you can like, I think it was like, what was the gore, the special effects. I was trying to think of the word special effects. My brain was just off in La La Land. But yeah, no, I think the special effects for this film was actually pretty decent. Like I was, all the practical effects, getting some guy's dick cut off, and then
it didn't get cut off; it got bitten off.
Bitten off,
and then it got stomped on.
Yes. And then that guy there was a guy that was talking about getting a turd shoved up, a frozen turd.
That's Martin. That's our boy Martin.
That I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Like that
Martin's
was
a freak, man. He's a wild one.
Yeah, I know.
Like the last time I was with Martin, I had cream corn all over me.
That it was just so weird. But that was like, I was just like, okay, so this is like something I think is probably going to stand with me for a little while. It was just like, there wasn't a whole lot to the film itself, and that's the thing, It wasn't a ton to this. It was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just off the wall, like scenes that were just like, just so out there and so funny that you really weren't expecting it. Like, I didn't know where the movie was going to go. It's definitely a turn your brain off and just enjoy it.
Yeah, there's not like there's a lot of continuity stuff. This is one of those where it's like you said, Ian, just turn it off, because like because Debbie gets killed, and then like they're just like they automatically forget about Debbie like 10 minutes later. Like she never comes back to the house. Like, oh, I guess something happened. They don't even bring it up anymore. It's like it's forgotten about. And like the killer, when he comes back, it's just like next thing. It's always the next thing. They don't really hark on anything too long. But that's the thing. Is like it's still like, some films, like you said, Ian, like they go on for a little bit long, and just like it could have been a short. And this one, yeah, it's like 50 minutes, and like I felt like it could have went on longer because I was kind of in the world and I was vibing with it, with all these characters and like wanting to see, the next outlandish thing, and absurd conversations that we're having between all the characters. But yeah, I had fun with it. It definitely screams 2006, because I just because of the style and like the clothing and the hair and just like yeah, that reminds me of 2006.
Yeah.
That's definitely high school era for me, but
Yeah, I was 17.
It's just like the whole style of it, and it just like again, the whole like I don't know if it was shot on video but I'm assuming it was. It just again that captures a moment in time, and like that's the one thing I like about like direct to video, shot on video stuff. It just like captures an essence that you don't get in like a bigger, or lower budget indie. It just like captures the real, the grittiness and the rawness of like that specific time frame. And that's why I felt like, both of them kind of accomplished that because like, yeah, there's like both, especially Farmlands, like, oh yeah, that felt like 2006. But
oh,
like,
yeah.
but Machete Mamas was just like, again, I liked the banter, the effects that they used, the guts that they used. Again, I'm assuming it was some had to be real animals, intestines. I like the antics of the characters, them just going around just like not giving a fuck about what they do. Like, yeah, we killed him. Oh well, who cares? Did he have any money? No. Damn it. It's just one of those where it just like kept going and going. I wish it kind of went amped up a little further. It kind of does with Martin towards the end there, and of course, the big set piece with the madam. But it's just like there's some good like one-liners in there. Martin is just like the king of one-liners. There's like, of course, we're going to talk about the getting fucked by a frozen turd at that, and just like the whole conversation in the car, just like again, it just comes out of left field. Like all you think is just going to be normal prostitution, have sex with a girl in the car. No, this guy's he's crazy. He wants like, I'm sorry, it's been a fantasy of mine since I was younger. Like, whose turd is it? And like, don't worry, it's a safe turd. And it's just going on to talking about turds. You don't get that often in a film. Just like deep, meaningful conversations about getting fucked by a turd.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. I'll put my finger up there, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
It's like it's just
like,
so
well, what do you think about cream corn?
Yeah, and that's the thing about this one, opposed to the other one. This was just memorable in a few different ways.
And plus, the audio was far more better than it was in Farmlands. I know we haven't got the Farmlands yet, but I mean the audio in Farmlands was egregious. I mean it was just like not good. Again, like I said, I don't know which one was first. So if like Farmlands was first, they stepped their game up with Machete Mamas. If Machete Mamas was first, I don't know what happened with Farmlands. But again, we'll get into Farmlands. But yeah, like this one was just stupidly fun. This is one of those where you just, again, like I think he said like, I know Farmlands was shot. He said it was like $40 and like beer was like the budget for Farmlands. And like this one is like, if you had, again, I don't drink, but I can see like this is a fun party movie if you drink, or if me and Ian was together watching it, which we technically were, but like in the room together, we would have a fun time with it, just shooting back and forth, quipping, riffing on it. Because it's just stupid, low budget, like indie DIY charm to it. And the thing is, like, again, I don't know, besides getting it off Richie Vomit himself at his tattoo shop, I don't know if he has these at his tattoo shop or not, but you probably have to go directly or find him at a tattoo as a vendor at a horror convention or something like I did to get Machete Mamas, because it's worth tracking down, because again, like, I think that's the only way to get it, because it was released from Create Space, and Create Space is defunct, and it's been defunct for many years, and it was a made on demand distributor for a bunch of low budget indie, DIY, horror projects way back in the day, like the early day of around that era of like 2005, 2008, around in there, before Amazon came around and started distributing stuff. So like, again, it was just like, you can't get it, unless you get it directly from Richie. And I think it's worth tracking down and trying to get in contact with Richie, because this one's one of those for like, if you enjoy just like low budget, sort of vulgar, just like ridiculous plots and scenarios with some fun kills and a practical, actual animal gore here and there, guts and stuff. It's fun, and it's just like, I like the banter was good. You were like, you were just like sitting there in like this world and just like watching the people have this conversation. Whereas, like, again, compared to last week's film, where it just felt like, oh my god, I want to leave. This is one of those where like you're at the bar and they're like having like, it's like they're having the time of their lives and you're right beside them, and then all of a sudden you get sucked into it and you're just partying with them, whereas you wanted to leave with the last week's film. So I just like all the characters that, again, it just felt natural. I mean, I'm sure there was a script, but just like it just felt like natural compared to Farmlands.
Yeah, you can definitely tell these people like knew each other in real life and just were just going off each other. And you can't really, beat good chemistry like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like how me and you just riff back and forth, like you get like sucked into it and you just like, yeah, it's cool.
That costs extra.
Yeah. You gotta talk about some of the other lines that Martin put out there, like what was it, like, put the pointy objects away, grab a car battery, and 2 pissed off cats. And then the other one was like, call me Marty, like, say you're my mom and call me Marty, or something like that. I don't know. There's so many quips in that Marty something. But yeah, like, it's a fun little, not even an hour. So again, like 50 minutes, you're in and out, if that. And it's just fun and stupid, and it's just like entertaining. That's what you want, is just to be, what you want out of a low budget indie film. Something like this. Yeah, I like it'd have been a little bit more go for the gusto, but again, we're looking at low budget, cheap indie filmmaking, and I think they achieved what they could have with what they had. And again, we're looking at the forest, we're seeing the forest through, what was it? You're seeing the forest through the trees or whatever, because we still got farmlands to get to. And it's just like, it's so yin and yang, both films.
But
yeah, like, again, we already mentioned, like, of the two, Machete Mamas is the one to check out. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's just a fun romp. Just get a bunch of friends and just watch some prostitutes go out there and stab people and dismember people and bite some penises off and play with some intestines and all kinds, rub blood all over themselves. It's just a fun little romp. And like I said, it has a charm to it. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. And it's definitely, one of those, it's not perfect, but it's a decent little gem, in my opinion. It's, it has some issues that a lot of people are not going to be all over. But for me personally, this is kind of like what I like to see in a little indie film. It's just like random stuff like this, like we said, like, it's not delivery, it's demonic, where it's just like people having fun and they're doing the best with what they have, and they're just like making a fun little movie. And again, I had fun with it. And again, I wish more people could see it. But Ian, any final thoughts on Machete Mamas?
No. I think there's not a whole lot to really discuss, and I think we kind of said all that needed to be said about that film, or else we'd be on this for like an hour just laughing.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is going to do it for Machete Mamas as we go on into our next feature, which is Farmlands. And I'm just going to read the back here because I'm going to preface all this before I get into the review. So I'm going to read the back of the DVD box. So here we go. A $40 budget, a video camera, and a bunch of fucked up Iowans. Because again, both films are filmed in Iowa. So here we go. The nightmare begins when Margie gets involved with a bad fucking kid named Johnny and turns up missing. When her friends go to look for her, they find more than they bargained for. There's more, but I'm not going to go into that because it's just talking about the film. So technically, that's the film. But how they go about it is rough. Like I said earlier, I'm not sure which film came first. The thing is, this is the only film on Richie Vomit's IMDb page, is Farmlands. Machete Mamas is not on there, which is a shame, because I would much rather have Machete Mamas on there to promote than Farmlands. Given the fact, again, yeah, it's cheap, and again, sometimes cheap works. I mean, as we said with Machete Mamas, sometimes, like the idea behind this one, I was okay with, because it doesn't revolve around Margie, who lives with her father, and she likes to play her music loud. There's a guy that's chopping wood. And then she goes out to this party, and she's hanging out with some friends, drinking. Then Johnny walks in to the residence that they're having the party. One of the friends goes up there and like, hey, you want to do this? You want to do that? Like, nah, not with you. And so she kind of walks away depressed. And then Margie comes in there and is like, yeah, sure, let's go out and do this. And so they go out and they eat at this restaurant, the Cattle's Club. And then the friends are like wanting to like pull a prank on her, or just like disrupt her date. And so they go there, and then Margie, spoilers, Margie gets killed. She gets drugged. And so the friends like, wonder what happened to Margie. Well, I don't know. We know she was with that guy, with Johnny. Let's go talk to our other friend who happens to know Johnny. So they just like circumstances to where they eventually lead to the farmhouse where they find, where Johnny lives. The thing is, this is one of those where it's just a lot of just people in a room conversing with the camera panning back and forth with really low audio, so you can hardly hear any dialogue that is being picked up by the video camera. And on top of that, the music is louder than the audio, so you can barely hear the conversations that are being had between characters.
Yeah.
And that is a good majority of the film. Again, it's not a hard story to follow, so you're not really missing out on much. But the thing is, like, when you're trying to tell a story and just like the camera audio is just like far side of the room, and then you've just put really loud music over top of it, and it's just like, well, it's just, it's just like you couldn't hear it, like it's just muffled. And that's and it just wasn't, after we watched Machete Mamas and went into this one, it was definitely a change. and definitely a step down. And yeah, I mean, we understand budgets, and like again, as I said on the back, like $40, but like this is like as cheap and as easy to make film as possible. And again, I give them props for it, for going out there and just like, we're just gonna, you guys just shuffle into a room and act natural, you know. And you have, what was his name, Bill or Phil, the big guy with the glasses. Like they're supposed to be like humorous as well, and like the humor didn't land in this one as opposed to Machete Mamas. Um, a lot of it just like again fell flat in my opinion, and like towards the last act, I mean, some of it was okay. The gore, um, when they used it, but yeah, like everything else leading up to it was just like the lighting was like natural lighting, natural audio just from the camcorder. Um, the music was just obnoxiously loud. Um, the story didn't really go nowhere. Not to say that it needed to go anywhere, but like there's just like elongated scenes of just like them talking. And again, like if it made sense to where you could understand the dialogue, sure, but the music just dubs everything out, so you can't. That it kind of makes it null and void. Um, Again, like it seemed like it could have been a fun like backwoods hillbilly slasher in a sense, or just like serial killer slasher. I mean, it kind of picks up towards the last act, but then it's already over with, so you're just kind of left like,
Yeah.
just like, you know. But Ian, I'll give your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth again.
Oi. The only scene that really stuck out to me was that one dude in his underwear with like the tits wrapped around his neck. Like that's the main thing that like my brain will remember from this movie.
I'm not preface this like they're going to search for the Margie, and they find another guy that's in this farmland, and he kills one of the female characters, rips her tits off, and then starts wearing them and prances around, sort of like how Steve Railsback did in the Ed Gein biopic back in the day. It's sort of like that, but like,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to preface.
Oh no, you're perfectly fine, my friend.
And that's it. Just goes on, and you're just like, with like the saggy titties rolling around on the grass.
Yeah.
That was about the only thing that did stand out, besides the reveal of Margie and her death. I mean, that was cool, but
yeah, I think there was not really a whole lot to this film. Just like in the other one, there wasn't, the other film wasn't that didn't have a whole lot going for it, but it had tons of humor. It was just all kinds of stuff that was
it had a story at least.
Yeah, it had a story, and this was just like you couldn't hear it half the time. And on my end, because I guess there's a noise suppression that was turned on my end, it kept like muffling the sound a little bit, but the music was just so loud that it was doing that. Like,
yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God.
And that was a choice too, like to make the music that loud. Like, I don't know why you needed to drown out your dialogue.
I guess they were trying to drown out something that was in the background.
I don't know. I mean,
but poorly.
There was the fire alarm that was going on.
See, I heard that so clearly. Like, I kept hearing the beeping sound. I even like pulled my headphones off to make sure it wasn't like my own thing. That's how clear it was. That was the clearest part of the audio. And I was like, holy crap. I was like, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of choices that came about. And but I don't really know. Like, the gore was fine. Like, I liked, the practical effects were pretty good. And I mean, this movie was apparently made on a $40 budget, so there's that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like both of them were like, I'm assuming like again, it's just by watching them, like it was just like their houses that they shot in. Like I'm assuming in Machete Mamas that basement was like their basement. Like let's
this
just shoot
is
in the
just
basement.
stuff they had around the house.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing part of that budget was gas.
Yeah.
So,
because like like you said, like they probably all knew each other, and they just already they already made the one, whichever one it was, and just like let's just do this, short, quick shoot, I don't know, on weekends whenever someone's free, and just let's do this because it felt like that again. That whole party scene was just like, all right, we're gonna stand in here for 10 minutes, shoot, and just act natural, because that when they go to the party, it's just like everyone just standing around, not doing anything, sitting on couches.
Yeah. I think
it just kind of lacked the energy. Like they needed like a grittier rawness to it. Whereas like Machete Mamas sort of had that covered a little bit, where it's sort of like a little nasty in parts. But it's just like with this one, like with the inbreeding and like, well, I guess it was supposed to be inbreeding. I don't know. It says that, but like with the crazy, backwoods family doing, killing people and stuff. Like it needed to be a little bit more, go for the gusto. And it just felt like, again, just like, I get it, you're going for the cheap and stuff, but it's just like it needed a little extra to it to make it land, and it needed better audio.
Yeah. Like I think it was just lacking in so many different ways, and I get it, it's like we understand, this was a $40 film. So it's not like we were expecting like cinema.
Yeah.
But I for a low
but you have to go into that too, because if like Machete Mamas, like how much more was put into that one then? If like if this is 40, I mean, is like Machete Mamas around the same price, or is that a couple thousand, or is it a couple hundred? It's just like, because there's effort put into Machete Mamas. The audio was good, the acting was fine, the story was decent, the gore, practical effects were better, or they had fun with it. And it's like everything was like the sets were better, even though they did use cars for some of the outside scenes for lighting, like everything was just like more defined. Whereas this one was just like, I'm just going to shoot and just use natural, I don't need to add anything and just hope for the best. It's just like, like I said, that yin and yang.
Yeah, But just comparing the other, the other two, you can clearly see that, like, I'm thinking Farmlands came first, and then they took what they saw they did wrong and then fixed it. And, because there's, like, there are, even back then, back in 2006, Audacity, I believe, was still a thing, or it was about to be a thing. But but it's just a testament of what you could do back then versus what you can do now on the cheap. And I think it's cool of just like how we have come as a society Now we got back then we didn't have cell phones with like cinema quality cameras.
No, if we're talking 2006, it was what? Nokia phone with Snake on it?
Or I think that was when the flip phones were starting to become a thing.
Yeah.
The Razor flip phones, the BlackBerry.
Yeah.
I was like, but geez, you know, just like it's just so crazy to think about how much of things have changed, and like all the tools and software that's available now that that we have access to. It's just it's just such a weird thing, because next year this movie would have turned what, 20?
20.
Yeah, so this is a 19-year-old movie. That's just crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, like again, there's like, I'm glad to have it. Like again, I'm glad to have both films.
Oh
from
yeah,
Richie.
100%.
And I'm glad to cover both of them, because I think it's a good, moment in time for both films. Because like again, just like I just like that, as I mentioned with Machete Mamas, it just that captures a moment in time. It's like how I like the shot on video stuff from the 80s and especially like the 90s stuff too, from like the German splatter films, where it just like captures this like grittiness and this rawness, like the the Olaf Ittenbach and the Andreas Schnoz, and then of course way back to Tim Ritter and Donald Farmer and stuff like that, where it just like captures a moment in time, for better or worse. But just like again, even if I didn't not the biggest fan of Farmlands, of the two, it's still, like I said, it felt like 2006, because like the way that Phil or Bill acted, and like how they came into the room and like conversed back and forth. That's how I remember high school, when I was like with the older class, the next grade up, and it's just like, yeah, that's kind of their mentality. It's just like quipping back and forth and shooting, talking vulgar and shooting the shit and stuff like that. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like that just took me back to my high school days, and
Yeah.
when I was like in art class with like the seniors, and it's just like, yeah, that's how that was, and it's just like rekindled that those old memories that again you can't really get that often. Like they're there, but like it brings back old memories, and just like, yeah, that's cool that these two films that again I wasn't really thinking of like that specific gear or just anything from it, but like watching this was just like bringing back these memories from when I was hanging out with the senior class and going out and like going to various places and just like hanging out, with like the older class, and it's just like it was fun. And just like again, like Machete Mom is just like, it's that crowd that you don't know you need until you're there, where it's just like you don't know if you're gonna fit in, but you're welcomed, and then you become one with them and just like enjoy hanging out. And just like those early days of trying to find where you fit in a sense, and just like, all right, these are my people. And that's what I felt with like Machete Mamas, and just like the overall like how they acted, and the natural conversations between them. Again, I like to heard more of it in Farmlands, but it's still like the whole idea of like them coming into a room and just like sitting at a table and conversing and just like making quips at the other people, and just like, yeah, it just brought back memories. But again, I'm going off on a tangent there, just but yeah, like Farmlands, it's like, if we said, it's not the best of the two, but it is, again, if you want to check something out, if you like the sort of backwoods, I mean, it's very, very minor on the backwoods aspect, but it does have some okay moments, but it's not very memorable as compared to Machete Mamas.
Yeah.
Machete Mamas just had so much to it, and with so little and going on, is in the short runtime. Or this one, even for like 50 some minutes, it still felt like along, like they're really just padding it out. Because there's just like a lot of scenes of just like the camera panning on a wall of posters up and down as like exposition, establishing shot. And it's just like a lot of slow-mo shots as well.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, again, like I said, Machete Mamas had like this frenetic energy to it and this charm to it, whereas Farmlands was just lacking. But Ian, any final thoughts before we close?
I think we've covered everything that we can for these these two films.
Yeah, I'm glad to have finally covered them because I've been sitting on them for like over a year now, and I've just waited and waited for the perfect opportunity, and here we go. Here we are with our Gorge Until You Vomit Thanksgiving special, the films of Richie Vomit and Vomit Films. Hopefully, again, he's not made any movies since 2006, because he's again a tattoo artist now in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. Why did I say Philadelphia? Pittsburgh. So he's doing good. I mean, I guess it was just like, again, a fun thing to pick up and do in the early days. Just get, like I said, just get a bunch of people, and go out there and make some movies. And he dabbled his foot in it, and just, I think made, 50-50 is not bad. But I think he had a really strong effort with Machete Mamas. And of the two, I think Ian and myself both agree Machete Mamas is the one to track down. It's just fun and ridiculous in nature, and just like the conversations. And I think we're just talking up Machete Mamas. Like, just go out there and try to get a hold of Machete Mamas. Contact Richie Vomit. Vomit Films on Facebook, I believe, is still active. Maybe, or just again, go to the Monster Inc. tattoo shop, see if you can get them off him there if you're in the area or passing through. I think it's worth it. Again, if you want to get both, because I think, again, I paid $20 for both of them. So if you're into low budget indie shot on video camcorder cinema, it's not bad. I mean, if you're really into the stuff like I am. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for listening and taking this excursion to Vomitville. I hope everyone enjoys their Thanksgiving dinners and all the trouble that goes along with family. Hopefully it's not as bad. For those that it does get bad, take care of yourself. Ian, as always, it's great talking with you, and I hope everything goes well with you and your family. And we will be back. I believe we'll be back for a Christmas marathon, Ian, at the start of that. So
Woo!
that is going to take us through December. And boy, I tell you, the choices we have for Christmas is eye-opening, to say that, to say the least. So we appreciate everyone for listening, and we will catch you next time here on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night.